was looking at on paper, and I looked at it, it was on YouTube, and it was, and I came up with it. So I've left 9 years, so the fear kept me down, looking at anything for 9 years.
But then later on, we decided to move across the road and stand just underneath Big Ben to hit a different side of the road. Big Ben? Lots of people. Good lad. Audience, because that was where the main flow of people were. And the witnesses were across the road and by the station, which meant we weren't that close to them. But obviously they heard the tannoy of the phone, what do they call them, megaphone things that we had with us, because Dave was telling them about no more two-witness rule, Jehovah's Witnesses stop hiding paedophiles, not beating around the bush at all, really getting straight to the point, which was
just cutting to the chase.
And and then so we stood there with the banner and we're doing this, and a police officer comes up and says, "Oh, who's in charge?" And I said, "Well, I can help you, officer. I'm one of the people that's helped organise it. How can I help you?" And he said, "Oh, I've just had a complaint." And I said, "All right." And I said, "Who from?" And they said, "Some Jehovah's Witnesses over there are saying that you're shouting through a megaphone about paedophiles." I said, "Yes, that's right." I said, "We're actually shouting about the fact that the Jehovah's Witnesses hide paedophiles within their organisation, and all because they have a two-witness rule, and paedophiles are basically free to roam around, and they're not doing anything about it, so we feel very strongly about this." "Oh, right." And I said, "Oh, but by the way," I said, "I'd like to make a counter-complaint that the fact that they are hiding paedophiles, and I'd like to ask them how they feel about that." Anyway, he tapped me on the arm, he said, "Carry on, my love." And he took a leaflet and walked in the opposite direction. So those witnesses who thought that, "Oh, how dare they talk about Jehovah's Witnesses in such a way," I thought that the policeman was going to feel the same way they did, didn't.
No.
So...
No more two-witness rule. Watchtown, stop hiding paedophiles.
That completely failed. I think that they have the impression that if anyone's speaking up against something, if it's their organisation, that everybody's going to feel the same way that they do. And that the casting Jehovah's name in a bad light or the organisation in a bad light is a complete and utter no-no.
But the thing is that with Jehovah's Witnesses, and because we were there, if I put myself in their place, and I would have felt exactly the same way they did. So this isn't a rebuke on them at all.
No.
We know exactly where they're coming from. This was a respectful education day, but at the same time it was loud, and it was meant to be that way because we need to get our message across, and we've only got a short time to do it.
Hence the yellow and black.
So, but their cognitive dissonance was kicking in big time, and they're seeing banners, and this would have been a complete assault on their senses to see this sort of thing, and I can see why they would be upset and indignant. Good. We're glad that they are. Maybe that some of them, one or two of them, might go away and actually do some private research.
Because you know what? When I was a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't know about the paedophilia problem at all. I never even considered it to be a possibility of being a problem within the organisation. But it is, and it's huge. And it's not the fact that it goes on, because it goes on everywhere in lots of different sort of structures of the system that we live in with regards to religious areas, or even with doctors, and just lots of different areas of life. You come across it because people are people. You get people everywhere. What I have a problem with is the fact that they are not acknowledging that they have a problem. They're burying their head in the sand, and they are not willing to do anything with regards to changing their policies, because without those changes, without them looking at that mandatory reporting issue with government, I hope they actually introduce that, because that's what would make them and force them to change their policies. Because without that, their Watchtower is not going to change their policies.
No, they're not.
Because they blame the government and say, well, because there's no mandatory reporting, we don't have to report them.
This is what the whole purpose of the day was about, was the two-witness rule, and to get round the two-witness rule is to basically bring in legislation within the United Kingdom to say enough is enough. That this particular group, and other religious faiths as well, should now come under a new banner, a new umbrella, where they have to, by law, report sexual abuse immediately to the authorities.
With regards to the way that the whole ex-Jehovah's Witness community is acting and pulling together in a teamwork fashion to bring down the Watchtower, its false prophecies, and bring attention to all of its policies
these doctrines.
That hide the paedophiles.
And one that many of us feel very passionate about, and I know Carl does too. I mean, Carl, welcome to YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
Loved your video. And lots of us feel very passionate about children and the way that children are treated and the way that they should be safeguarded. And we see holes all the way through this two-witness rule.